Again, I'm going to be reading chapter 1 of an excerpt from Michel de Montaigne's collected essays. This is my favorite one. Of the inconsistency of our actions. Those which exercise themselves in controlling human actions find no such let in any one part as to put them together and bring them to one another, to one same lustre. For they commonly contradict one another so strangely as it seemeth impossible they should be parcels of one warehouse. Young Marius is sometimes found to be the son of Mars, and other times the child of Venus. Pope Boniface VIII is reported to have entered into his charge as a fox, to have carried himself therein as a lion, and to have died like a dog. And who would think it was Nero, that lively image of cruelty, who being required to sign, as the custom was, the sentence of a criminal offender that had been condemned to die, that he would answer, Oh, would to God I could never have written, so near was his heart grieved to doom a man to death. The world is full of such examples that every man may store himself. And I wonder to seem of understanding trouble themselves with sorting these parcels, since meseemeth irresolution is the most apparent and common vice of our nature, as witnessed that famous verse of Publius the comedian, The counsel is but bad, whose change may not be had. There is some apparency to judge a man by the most common conditions of his life, but seeing the natural instability of our customs and opinions, I have often thought that even good authors do ill and take a wrong course, wilfully to opinionate themselves about framing a constant and solid contexture of us. They choose a universal air, and following that image range and interpret all a man's actions, which, if they cannot rest sufficiently, they remit them into dissimulation. Augustus hath escaped their hands, for there is so apparent, so sudden, and continual a variety of actions found in him through the course of his life, that even the bold judges and strictest censors have been fain to give him over and leave him undecided. There is nothing I so hardly believe to be in man as constancy, and nothing so easy to be found in him as inconstancy. He that should had distinctly and part by part judge of him, should often jump to speak truth. View all antiquity over, and you will find it a hard matter to choose out of a dozen of men that have directed their life unto one certain settled and assured course, which is the surest drift of wisdom. For to comprehend all in one word, saith an ancient writer, and to embrace all the rules of our life into one, it is at all times to will and not to will one same thing. I would not vouchsafe, saith he, to add anything, always provided the will be just, for it be unjust, it is impossible it should ever continue one. Verily I have heretofore learned that vice is nothing but a disorder and a want of measure, and by consequence it is impossible to fasten constancy unto it. It is a saying of Demosthenes, as some report, that consultation and deliberation is the beginning of all virtue, and constancy the end of perfection. If by reason or discourse we should take a certain view, we should then take the fairest, but no man hath thought on it. He scorns that which he sought, seeks that which he scorned of late. He flows, ebbs, disagrees in his life's whole estate. Our ordinary manner is to follow the inclination of our appetite, which is to say, which appetite this way and that way, on the left and on the right hand, upward and downward, according to the wind of our occasions doth transport us. We never think on what we would have, but at this instant we would have it, and change as that beast that takes the colour of the place wherein it is laid. What we even now purposed, we alter by and by, and presently return it to our former bias. All is but changing motion and inconstancy. So are we drawn as wood is shoved by other sinews, each way moved. We go not, but we are carried, as things that float now gliding gently, now hulling violently, according as the water is either stormy or calm. See we not every man in his thoughts heights, knows not what he would have, yet seeks he straight to change place as he could lay down his weight. Every day new toys, each hour new fantasies, and our humours move and fleet with the fleetings and movings of time. Such are men's minds, as that great God of might surveys the earth with increase bearing light. We float and waver between diverse opinions. We will nothing freely, nothing absolutely, nothing constantly. Had any man prescribed certain laws or established assured policies in his own head, in his life should we daily see to shine an equality of customs, an assured order, and an infallible relation from one thing to another. Empedocles noted this deformity to be amongst the Agrigantines, that they gave themselves so over to delights as if they should die tomorrow, and bold as if they should never die. The discourse thereof were easy to be made, as is seen in young Cato. He that touched but one step of it hath touched it all. It is a harmony of well according tunes, and which cannot contradict itself. With us it is clean contrary, so many actions and so many particular judgments are there required. The surest way, in mine opinion, were to refer them on to the next circumstances, without entering into further search and without concluding any other consequences of them. During the late tumultuous brawls of our mangled estate, it was told to me that a young woman, not far from me, had headlong cast herself out of a high window with intent to kill herself, only to avoid the ravishment of a rascally base soldier that lay in her house, who offered to force her, and perceiving that with her fall she would not kill herself to make an end of her enterprise, she would have cut her own throat with a knife, but that she was hindered by some that came in to her. Nevertheless, having sore wounded herself, she voluntarily confessed that the soldier had yet but urged her with importune requests, suing solicitations, and golden bribes, but she feared he would in the end have obtained his purpose by compulsion. By whose earnest speeches, resolute countenance, and gorged blood, a true testimony of her chaste virtue, she might appear to be the lively pattern of another Lucretia. Yet now know I certainly that both before that time and afterwards she had been enjoyed of others upon easier composition. And as the common saying is, fair and soft, as squeamish honest as she seems, although you miss of your intent, conclude not rashly an inviolable chastity to be in your mistress. For a groom or a horsekeeper may find an hour to thrive in, and a dog hath a day. Antigonus, having taken up upon him to favour a soldier of his reason, by his reason of his virtue and valour, commanded his physicians to have great care of him, and see whether they could recover him of a lingering and inward disease which had long tormented him, who being perfectly cured, he afterward, perceiving him to be nothing so earnest and diligent in this affairs, demanded of him how he was so changed from himself and became so cowardly. Yourself, good sir, answered he, have made me so by ridding me of those infirmities which so did grieve me that I made no account of my life. A soldier of Lucullus, having by his enemies been robbed all he had to revenge himself, undertook a noble and desperate attempt upon them, and having recovered his losses, Lucullus, having a very good opinion of him, and with the greatest shows of assured trust and loving kindness, he could bethink himself made a special account of him, and in any danger enterprise seemed to trust and employ him only, with words which to a coward might add courage, had he any sprite. Employ, said he unto him, some wretch stripped and robbed soldier. None is, saith he, so clownish, but will on. Where will you have him if his purse be gone? And absolutely refused to obey him. When you read that Muhammad, having outrageously rated Chasan, chief leader of his Janissaries, because he saw his troops well nigh defeated by the Hungarians, and he to behave himself but faintly in the fight. Chasan, without making other reply, alone as he was without more ado, with his weapon in his hand, rushed fiercely in the thickest throng of his enemies, that he might first withal of whom he was instantly slain. This may haply be deemed rather a rash conceit than a justification, and a new spite than a natural prowess. He whom you saw yesterday, so boldly venturous, wonder not if you see him as a dastardly meacock tomorrow next, for either anger or necessity, company or wine, a sudden fury or the clang of a trumpet might rouse up his heart and stir up his courage. It is no heart nor courage so framed by discourse or deliberation. These circumstances have settled in the same in him. Therefore it is no marvel if by any contrary circumstance he became a craven and changed copy. The supple variation and easy yielding contradiction which is seen in us hath made some to imagine that we had two souls and other two faculties, whereof every one, as best she pleaseth, accompanieth and doth agitate us, the one towards good, the other towards evil. For so much as such a rough diversity cannot well sort and agree in one simple subject. I'm going to leave it there for now and carry on another time. It's a really great book.